Hi everyone, and welcome. It's great to see you all virtually. Hopefully you've noticed that things are a little bit different background-wise, but it's great to be with you. Great to have you here. I, on behalf of the leadership team, wanted to bring you up to speed with some of the latest developments regarding MCC and how we're going about being church in the midst of this pandemic. So a couple of things. First of all, hopefully, if it hasn't happened already, over the next couple of days, a member from the leadership team will be reaching out and contacting each of you via phone. This is just a way to check in, to see how you're doing, to see if there's anything that we can provide here and now. As well as that, we've kind of put everyone who's part of the church into clusters. And these clusters would be encouraging you to stay in touch with the people who are part of your cluster. You can call them a pastoral care group if you like. We're hoping that people over the next little while will be reaching out to those people particularly, not exclusively, but particularly, and checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, offering them some encouragement, that kind of thing. So again, look out for that. If it hasn't happened already, one of the leadership team members will be in contact with you via phone and will be talking to you about those clusters. That's the first thing. The second thing is our online presence. And specifically now, I'm going to be talking about Facebook. So as you're probably aware, we've already got an MCC public Facebook site. And over the next couple of days, it's started happening already, we're going to be investing more time and energy into changing that. And this public Facebook site is going to have two, it's just like Sunday mornings, big trucks. Yeah, it's our trucks. You know, from here I can still see the guys, like the middle-aged guys go past wearing Lycra in one of their mountain bike packs. It's great, so reassuring, life does go on. So the Facebook sites, the public Facebook site. The two main functions of the public Facebook site are going to be as follows. Number one, we want our public MCC Facebook site to be a clear and explicit call to the community saying we are here to help you. So, for example, if people need food delivered, if people want some online company, if people just want someone to pray with them, if anyone in the larger channel community has a need, we want this Facebook site to be a portal, a gateway, that they will recognise clearly and know how to access, and also it will signal that we are here to help and support them. So that's the first purpose of our public Facebook site. The second is going to be a way that if people here and now, which we expect they will be, if people are anxious, if people are curious, again, if people want someone to pray with them, if people want to start exploring and talking about faith, if people who have been distant from the church decide that now is going to be a time that they would like to reconnect, we again want this public Facebook site to be an entry, an easy entry into which they can reach someone from MCC and get that kind of support. Another example of that may be, we're looking at the possibility of, say, offering Alpha online, which is becoming more and more of a live option as well. So they're the two primary purposes of our public Facebook site. So what it's not going to be for is a way to kind of put up exclusively Christian content. So if you're looking for a great Spotify playlist to listen to while you're kind of like bunkering down, it won't be the place where you go and get that kind of recommendation. Again, it's going to be external facing. So that's the public Facebook site. We're also in the midst of putting together a private Facebook site. And this is going to be primarily focused at our already existing community. So at this stage, Louie's putting that together. She's going to be one of the administrators. So she's going to be looking for you out there on Facebook and inviting you to join this. If you've got like some kind of pseudonym that you fly under the radar with via Facebook, it'd be great to either create a new profile or send that pseudonym to Louie so she can invite you to join that group. So the purpose of this private Facebook group for MCC, again, is going to be supporting and consolidating the MCC church community. So this is going to be a chance to put up, say, inspirational things. So if you've got a verse, if you've got a devotion that you think people will find encouraging, then place it up on there. It'll also be a chance to let people know about ways that we can help the outside community as well. So if you've got a need that you know about, someone outside the church could do with a hand, then you can post that up there and see if someone will be able to respond to it. Thirdly, it'll also be a way, just to, I suppose, try to drop in and remind people of the things, the everyday things that I used to kind of take for granted, that were really the kind of familiar stuff of life. And I used to be, yeah, like rice, yeah, rice is one. But like the kind of stuff that still puts a smile on my face. I used to put like a smile on my mates' faces. So I'm expecting to bombard you guys with pictures of my 37k Labrador Wilson jumping up and down, sleeping on Louis' side of the bed, whilst like gnawing on one of our Ugg boots. Like he does that all the time. It makes me laugh. I used to tell my mates about it in the flesh. I'm not going to have that opportunity anymore. So now I'm going to be putting it up on Facebook for you guys, hopefully to put like a smile on your face as well. Again, like the little things, little everyday things, just to make people feel a bit more, well, realising that the familiar, the everyday, it's still out there, it's still happening. And hopefully, again, that'll be one more way by which we can all get through this together. So that will be what the private Facebook page is for, that kind of thing. Now, again, some of you, I expect, will be a little bit kind of wary/skeptical of Facebook. And as you may be aware, that's certainly me. The only time I've ever been on Facebook was years ago. Al helped set me up. He gave me like a pseudonym, and I used it whilst I was travelling, came back from travelling, and haven't looked back since. So I've kind of like considered myself like a post-Facebook person. But now, given the circumstances, I'm going to get back online and join Facebook. If I can do it, I reckon you can all do it too. And it's going to be such a great way to stay in touch with people. So please, if you're not already on Facebook, sign up. If you're already on Facebook, please join this group. Again, it's going to be private. It's going to be administrated. The only people who are going to see what's posted on there is everyone who's part of MCC and Mark Zuckerberg. And that's it. That's all. Okay. So it'll be completely locked down in that regard. So there are 2 Facebook sites, so keep an eye out for those two. Get on board with both of them. Also, what we're hoping to do every week is provide some online content via a social media platform. I think that's what the kids call it, some kind of social media platform, still to be determined. So once, as we've already done, you'll get links sent out from us. We're looking at maybe 2 to 3 times a week, same days. We're going to try to keep it constant and steady and reliable. One of those times, though, will always be Sunday morning at 10 a.m. We're not looking at live streaming like a 90-minute service. We're not trying to replicate what we've already done. We need to be more creative than that. So we'll be looking at doing something on Sunday mornings that starts at 10, maybe goes for like, say, 20 minutes, half an hour. That's what we're looking at doing. And we encourage you, let's all watch that together. So let's not give up that habit, the great habit that we've developed of all being together, albeit remotely, virtually in our sense, but being together remotely, concentrating on something that will direct us towards God and that will encourage us this way as well, that will also provide some encouragement to each other. Let's still do that together. There is something that's kind of, again, encouraging and familiar about knowing that even if I'm watching this dressed in my pyjamas in the comfort of my own lounge room, I know that Joel and Alex are doing that in their respective lounge rooms as well at the same time. There's something cool about that, right? So let's keep that up. So again, keep an eye out 2 to 3 times a week, always on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. There'll be something like this that will, again, won't replicate completely a Sunday morning service, but will start to serve and meet some of those same functions. That's what we're looking for. Okay, and then, again, every week we're going to go on to breaking some community news, so letting people know what's going on in terms of the news. So I've got some news for us right here, right now. That's what I'll be doing now. Each week, we want to drop some news, some stuff that's going on in the life of the local community. We figure that's a great way to stay in touch, a great way to know what to pray for each other as well, things that we can celebrate involving each other remotely. And just like again, like another means to feel that there is some degree of continuity in this rather strange time. So this week, we've got, I believe, like 5 pieces of news, 5 things that we wanted to share. Number 1. Kate and Ian Nevin are expecting a baby this week coming. So in the next 7 days, they're expecting the birth of their son. So please keep Kate and Ian Nevin in your prayers over the next little while. So that's coming up hopefully sometime this week, Kate and Ian. Secondly, something pretty exciting happened yesterday. We had our first call out for a Chester's Patch food delivery. So someone in the local community had come in from overseas, had to go into quarantine, self-imposed quarantine straight away. And so they put a call out, they had no food, didn't want to go into Woolies for 15 minutes and do some shopping. So Chester's Patch put together a basket, a hamper, and it got dropped off at their door. That's fantastic, and that's probably a sign of what's going to become more and more common over the next couple of months, and again, a great way that we can serve as a local community. Next, another really good piece of good news. Simon Levitt, some of you guys would be aware, has been in New Zealand for the last, I think, like week and a half. He was planning to be there, I think, until like today. Fortunately, thank you God, he came home early, secured a flight, so he's back in the country, which is also good. And then also on that, Hannah Williams. Hannah, who has been preparing for the last, 12, 18 months now, praying about it, getting ready, gearing up over in WA to embark on doing some missionary work over in Ethiopia. Hannah, I believe, was literally 2 hours away from jumping on the plane to go over to Ethiopia, and then the pin got pulled on that, which all things considered is probably a great thing. Hannah, I believe, is arriving back home in Tassie as of today, this afternoon. She may even be here already. So thank you, God, that Hannah is back here with us and is safe and sound. And lastly, this is like, I guess, kind of like a general encouragement. As you be aware, there are lots of people within our congregation who are either sole traders or involved in operating small businesses. There are lots of people out there in Kingborough and beyond that are sole traders operating their own small business. And whilst this is going to be a difficult time for everyone, I expect that some of the big businesses who are well established, they will probably have a better chance of being able to ride the storm easier than against sole traders and small businesses. So whilst we've got the chance, I'll be encouraging all of us, again, assuming we can do it responsibly and safely, it's a great time to get out there and support sole traders, small businesses, again, just while we can. Okay, so that's this week's news. And now, moving on to the next thing, something that we're hoping to deliver every single week is an interview with some of the members of the MCC family. Again, we won't be seeing so much of each other in the meet space, as they call it, for the next little while, but that doesn't mean that we can't connect with people and find out more about our church family remotely. So we've endeavoured to go and do some interviews with different people from MCC, so over the next couple of months you'll get a chance to actually get to know people better. Not a bad way to spend the time. And the first one that we're going to be doing is with Paul and Julie Summerfield. Hey, Paul and Julie, thanks so much for coming in and having a chat.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. How long have you guys been part of MCC?
So Ella and I rocked up here one day and it was like, wow, yep, this is where we're supposed to be. And Ella kind of confirmed it by rushing out after Sunday school and going, Mum, we've got to come here every week. And I actually remember class saying, there's your answer. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and it just went on from there. And then after about 6 months, Paul decided to rock up with us one day. He hadn't been to church for years.
Yeah. I think I can still remember that.
Yeah.
Like, the beard made an impression.
Yep. Yeah. And this was back mid-2018, I think, when Ella and I started. And here we are.
For those of us who don't know, where do you guys live?
In a house. Oh, it's snug.
Is that a pre-scripted joke? What do you think that you're going to miss most about doing church face-to-face, small groups, Bob, like that kind of thing, Sunday morning services?
I'm going to find it really difficult not having that face-to-face contact, giving people hugs. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really weird. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting how I actually cope with that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Actually not being able to be there with people.
Yeah, but you know. Nothing.
That's probably the wrong answer. I mean, Bob's good, but
yeah.
I'm also happy with my own company. So.
And what's Bob? Like just for people who don't know.
Bunch of blokes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Face to face every fortnight. Yeah.
And it means I have an evening where I'm in control of the remote.
That's going to be, I reckon there'll be entire courses written over the next 12 months on how to share remote controls. Are you guys thinking of picking up any new hobbies, talents?
Yep.
Going to learn a second or third or fourth language?
Got a car to finish off.
They've got a car to finish off.
In case zombies do attack. So.
Yeah, so Paul's going to be prepping. Yeah.
Got some books and started reading again. So.
Oh, cool, fantastic. Yeah, great. Awesome.
And I could, do up a list for you. I've always had this to-do list in my mind of things I would like to try out.
Yeah.
A long time ago, my middle daughter, we'd actually given her a bass
Yeah, right.
as a present. I think
Yeah.
it was Christmas, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll give that a go, because I would
Yeah.
really like to learn an instrument,
Yes, yeah.
and I've never had the time, so
Yeah.
toying around with that.
Okay, cool. And now I was wondering, like, assuming you guys are comfortable with it, because this is something like that I imagine like a lot of us don't know at MCC. Yeah, but like if you'd like to give us like the story, and it doesn't have to be like long or incredibly comprehensive, but like just the story of how you guys became Christians, like how you became followers of Jesus.
19 years ago, a good friend of mine invited me to their small group. And I kind of had a bit of a Christian background. I'd come here as a kid for Sunday school, did
that's right.
youth group with Steve Brinkoff,
Yeah.
So I always had this belief, but I kind of went away. And it was getting invited to this small group. It was kind of like getting back to God.
Well, I was born, used to be a Mormon, became born again and gave my life to Christ
Yeah.
fully, and sort of been a on and off hard road because I'm pretty stubborn, and I've just got to, sort of let God do what he's going to do, which has taken 20 odd years, but
That's happening.
it is happening, and
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot lately that different things are changing in me, but also the way I see things. I'm here to help people, not anything but. So
Yeah.
and that's, I suppose that's probably one of my favourite things, is to do things for other people, and
Yeah.
I get enjoyment out of that.
We could be like bedding down for a little while. Any like, well, let's say one book or one movie recommendation to help pass the time.
Or one computer game.
Oh yeah, one computer game, of course.
Well,
Got a book.
Now we're talking.
well, at the moment I'm going through the Wild West, so. But yeah.
Well, they can have some transferable skills.
Yeah, I was going to read Wild at Heart again.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything that we could be particularly praying for you guys over the next little while? Anything that's
Got
kind
an
of
hour.
on your immediate radar?
I guess challenges
Yep.
with mum and dad.
Yeah.
Dad had a really nasty fall a couple of days ago,
Yeah.
and that's really shaken me, and he's now in the rehab and he won't be coming home.
Right.
So he'll be going into residential care.
Yep.
So
Okay.
mum will be on her own.
Yeah.
She's going to need support.
Like, just for some background, your parents are like getting on, and over the past, call it a month or a couple of weeks, you've kind of moved in that almost like full time.
Been like over the last 6 months I'd been trying to care and work.
Yes.
I actually took a leave of absence from work, which meant I no longer have my job to go back to. I
Yeah.
will have a job,
Yeah.
but I've effectively lost a permanent position.
Yeah.
So
So,
my whole life's up in the
we
air.
don't know. I mean,
Yeah, and
we're
Paul's
both
the
on
same.
leave, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really scary because, and before the accident that Paul was involved with, we kind of had stuff mapped out, which is
Yeah.
really silly.
Yeah.
We were struggling a bit financially then, and it's just blown out
Yeah.
of proportion,
Yeah.
and I'm finding it really hard to trust God
Yeah.
because it just seems to be getting worse.
Yeah.
But then, in hindsight and through experience, that's what usually happens until things get really good. And I know God's working and He's trying to teach us something, and who knows where we're going to be led and what we're actually going to be doing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of exciting as well as really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I feel like our lives are going to take a totally new direction.
Yeah.
And I like to have everything planned, and so for me this is
Yeah.
way out of
Yeah.
my
Like
comfort zone.
Yeah. Sure.
And I know,
Yeah.
ultimately, I know God's saying, trust me, I
Yeah.
will provide.
Yeah.
And I'm just finding that all the way.
Yeah. It'd be a bit
Yeah.
kind of nice if we could
he
see
will.
exactly how
I
it's gonna
know he
happen.
will. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
this point in time. It's,
Yep.
Yeah.
We've just got to take each day.
Yeah.
Just-
Yeah.
Well, I'm just hoping and praying that no one gets sick and I can still have my operation, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and that's for your...
Yep.
Due for 2 nice new shiny knees.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Which is
right.
gonna,
Yeah.
it'll have its ups and downs, but I know it'll be all good.
Yeah, yeah. And that's scheduled for April, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, April this stage. That's for like...
22nd of April. Exciting times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming in again. And again, like, thanks for being willing to be like the first cabs off the rank.
Yeah, cool.
Really appreciate that.
No worries.
Hey everyone, we'll now take communion together for the first time in this format. I'm not sure about you, but I feel like we're kind of like on the verge of embarking on something. This is like unknown territory for all of us. It feels like we're about to take the first step in a pilgrimage. And there's not a whole lot of stuff that I'm certain about, but I am fairly sure about a couple of things, like regarding the pilgrimage. The first thing is that it's going to be different. So the mode of church that we've been used to in the past, meeting together face to face, meeting in small groups face to face, we aren't going to have the luxury of that anymore. It's going to be different. And secondly, it's not going to be without its difficulties. So a lot of people are staring down the possibility of a loss of income. We're all kind of staring down the possibility of losing some of our health. And we're also considering the loss of the kind of social interaction that we've been so familiar with for so long. So these next few months, at least, are going to be not without their difficulties. And again, it is going to be different. It's going to be both different and probably a little bit difficult. But at the same time, there are a few other things that I'm certain of that haven't changed, good things that haven't changed. So first of all, we aren't called to walk this road by ourselves. So we've got each other. In terms of this pilgrimage, if you like, it's something that we're embarking upon together. That's the first thing. And there's some comfort in that. No one should be considering that they're doing this alone, because you're not. And secondly, our core purpose as a church hasn't changed. Who we are as Christ's people, that's still steady. The format has obviously had to morph and change, but who we are, our primary identity, that hasn't. So we're still salt and light. We're still called to be that city on a hill. We're still asked to be Christ's ambassadors. None of those things have changed. They still remain. In terms of what the path looks like over the next little while, we're not even sure about that. Not sure exactly what it's going to consist of and what it's going to look like. In terms of the destination that we're being called to, again, there are so many unknowns that we can't be certain of. But at the same time, I think we believe and know that God is still in control. And where we're going is nowhere that God hasn't been and God doesn't know about already. And the thing that I am certain about, the third thing, in addition to it being different and perhaps a little difficult, the third thing that I'm completely convicted about is that God is going to define who we are as a people and individuals through this. God is going to use this, whatever it looks like, wherever this pilgrimage takes us, God is going to use this to define us as a church and as individuals. He has got this in hand. So we aren't in this position via blind fate. This has got nothing to do with chance, coincidence, or chaos. We're here in this time and place going through this together as God's people because He has called us to be here. Of that I firmly believe. I firmly believe. And He will take this and He will define who we are as a people through it. And I also take great comfort in the fact that, again, this is nothing that God Himself isn't unfamiliar with. I was reading a couple of days ago, just going through the Gospels, and came across the passage from Luke chapter 9, 51. So Jesus is now en route on His own pilgrimage back to Jerusalem. And He knows what's going to be happening. He knows that He is going there to die. And it says in Luke chapter 9, 51, as the time approached for Him to be taken up to heaven, Jesus resolutely set out for Jerusalem. He resolutely set out for Jerusalem. He knew exactly what He was going to face. And in other translations, this is the NIV, in other translations it has the phrase something like, He set His face Jesus set his face towards Jerusalem. And you also remember that though being fully aware of what was awaiting him there, the torments, the suffering that he was going to endure, even then he had the added temptation of his best friends, people like Peter, saying to him, you're not called to this. There's an easier path. You shouldn't have to face any of this. And so Jesus even suffered that temptation. He knew what it was like to have an alternative put in front of him. But for the sake of his people, for the sake of opening up and enabling a way for people to be reconciled to God, Jesus still resolutely set his face towards Jerusalem and walked and walked. And I get some comfort from that now. I think that is a good reminder for us here and now that we're embarking on something. We're on our own particular pilgrimage together. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. We're not sure what the destination will result in at the end. But again, we've been called to do this. And this is something that God is going to use to define us as a people. But I think at this stage, it's worth trying to set our expectations, to calibrate our expectations. I was thinking also of the famous account of Admiral James Stockdale, who was a US Air Force pilot in Vietnam. He was shot down fairly early on in the war. And he recounted later, as he was literally descending in his parachute, he said he remembers thinking, I've got 30 seconds worth of freedom left. And he said, I'm now leaving civilization and I'm going back into a much more ancient and hard world and existence. And he said, I have to remember this and set my expectations because this is going to be the next 5 years of my life. And it turned out that he spent seven years as a POW, and he got through it. And he largely credits a lot of that to being mindful, again, of calibrating his expectations and knowing that things were going to change. And I think it's timely for us to have the same kind of attitude now. It's going to be different, it's likely to be difficult, but again, we have to constantly remember this is how God is going to define us. This again may be one of the defining moments, if not the defining moment of MCC as a church, and even of our own individual stories too. So let's take something from the example of Jesus. And also let's remember that we can't, in our own strength, I'm not sure if we could get through this, again, because we don't know the scope of the differences and the difficulties involved. But again, we know that our Lord, our King, has walked this path before us, a much more difficult path than we're looking at now. He walked through it, again, in order to open up the way that people could be reconciled back to God. We are going to be walking through it in such a way that we will, again, draw people towards God. The way that we behave, the way that we go through this, can act as a light, as a beacon to bring people to God. I'm convinced that God can use us through this, that he wants to use us through this. We're going to spend a lot of time perhaps in confined quarters with the same kind of people. People are going to be watching us. Our friends and family outside the church are going to be interested in seeing the authenticity of our faith. It seems like maybe even like 3 to 6 months ago, if someone from the outside was wondering how authentic your faith was, maybe like they'd want to know how you were going with, drinking or looking at porn or whether you watched Game of Thrones or not. And that was like, and they're all important things, but it's almost like that was the kind of the quality you've used when it came to authenticity of faith. And now our authenticity is going to be to some degree discerned by how do you go in the midst of a global pandemic that no one saw coming, of the like that hasn't been around for a century plus. And they're going to be truly interested in our response. So, please, let's set our expectations. Let's again realise it's going to be different. It's likely to be difficult, but this is going to define us. And even though we'd struggle in our own strength, we have the Spirit of God, we have the example of Christ, and we know that he has got this in hand and we are exactly where we're supposed to be. The question that we used to ask over the last couple of years in terms of trying to gauge, I suppose, our impact as a church, our effectiveness as a church in the local community was, if our doors shut, if our doors closed, would anyone in the community even notice? I've been thinking more and more the new question that we should be asking ourselves from here on in is, at the end of this, the other side, the new normal, whatever it looks like, will people say, I'm not sure if I could have gotten through this without MCC. I'm so glad MCC was around during the pandemic. I'm hoping that's how people will respond. I'm hoping that the way God uses us over the next little while will matter that much to people, and again will serve as a signpost to Him and His love and His power by how we live. So as we embark on this together, I thought it'd be good to kind of mark the occasion. Again, this is our first communion done virtual style. So I'm not going to break the bread. Again, that was so 2019. I'm going to pass the bread around to both Al and Joel. And I'm going to pour the wine. You'll notice this is wine. I read online, a Lutheran actually, suggested that this has got better antibacterial and antiviral properties. Please join me at home. Grab some bread or a biscuit. Grab some liquid. And now, how about we eat the bread together? And after that, Alex will say a prayer and we'll drink the cup together too.
Dear God, we thank you that we can remember what you did. Thank you that we can remember the sacrifice that you made, and that this is a reminder to us that we've been doing for thousands of years, and that we can continue this tradition. We thank you for your love and for your sacrifice. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thanks everyone. We'll see you over the next week a couple of times, and I pray be safe in God's grace. Let's be resolute. Thank you.